Hey friends, this is Dolany TV. Glad to have you alongside the car tonight as we get set up to discuss the big deal, the big news of this fine Wednesday night. Wednesday in Airdrie, by the way. I'm already on dice. But the Edmonton Oilers just dodging disaster in what could have been Elias Lindholm trade talks. Of course, we've heard a lot about Elias Lindholm across the NHL over the span of this season. I think it was Bruins fans initially that were salivating at the mouth trying to get him aboard their hockey team. It's the Canucks fans here late that we're starting to scoop in and discuss Elias Lindholm, and it is indeed the Vancouver Canucks who land for quite the package Elias Lindholm from the Calgary Flames. At current, there is really no extension plans yet, but that's due to travel, that's due to the All-Star break, that's due to a whole bunch of other things outside of both Lindholm and, of course, the Vancouver Canucks control. But it's, an insane package for one Elias Lindholm on an expiring deal. Yes, if there's an extension, it all works out. But right now, it is crazy to situate that this is a massive trade that Vancouver and the Flames just pulled off. And the reason I say the Oilers avoided disaster here is that is way more than we had to give up for a guy that wasn't really going to impact the roster overall as much as possibly some other pieces that we could add for the same price, right? You look at it, you can add a solid number 2 option to Stuart Skinner if you want for a lot less cost than this. You can add a top defenseman for the Oilers, at least in terms of what you'd have to give up anyway for said top defenseman for this exact same package, right? Chris Tanev's still on the trade block for the Calgary Flames. The Oilers could go out there and give up a little less for one Chris Tanev than Vancouver did for Elias Lindholm, and find an upgrade. Whether you want to argue for CC or Kulak, they could find an upgrade there within the situation. So when this all boils down, friends, it's a first-round pick, a conditional fourth-round pick. It is Andrei Kuzmenko, and it's a top prospect and a mid prospect from the Canucks that goes in return for the expiring Elias Lindholm. So we were talking last night, right? For the Oilers, this deal was never going to happen just simply because Battle of Alberta, the asset price is way too high, bidding war is way too high. It was not going to get done if you were an Edmonton Oilers fan. That's why, obviously, for those of you that sat there and discussed things with me yesterday, that's why I talked things over. But for the Oilers, it was just never going to be an option to get Elias Lindholm. And when you look at the cost that comes in at the end of the day, right, a top tier player on your team, Kuzmenko, not necessarily on the Canucks a top tier player, but going on to a Calgary Flames team, he suddenly becomes one of their best options on the wings. And then obviously a first round pick, a top prospect, and of course a fourth and another prospect. The Oilers don't even have that many prospects that they could have made that deal work. Plus you're giving up 2 picks, plus you're giving up a roster player. Kuzmenko, I'd argue, is still a better hockey player overall in terms of potential of game than a Warren Foegele. So you're talking about top 6 forwards. The Canucks still gave up a more valuable asset, in my opinion. But you look at it here, right? It is a lot for the Edmonton Oilers to have swallowed if they even were looking to make the deal. So what we know of this deal is simply for the Oilers. I don't even think we picked up the phone to make the call at this point, because you look at the package Vancouver gave up. They found something that worked and gave it up ASAP right away, right? So, we're January 31st, so we're still over just about 5 weeks away from the deadline, which I will not be able to live stream this year, work things call. But for the Oilers, right, is this already one big fish off the target board that's gone. And now, as I'm seeing, right, you move on to target number 2, target number 3, and it really begs the question with how much was overall asked. I knew the ask was huge. When it comes down to it, how much really was that ask from the Flames for Lindholm if you were the Edmonton Oilers? And I'd be interested to find that out. But friends, that's just some initial thoughts and reactions. End of the day, but the Calgary Flames get a massive haul from the Vancouver Canucks for a guy that they really did not have much leverage with. Lindholm, I think back in the summer, requested to have been traded, and then they talked about an extension, and then it became apparent this year that they were never going to find an extension, and the Oilers kind of sitting around the periphery because we're a contending team that's looking for upgrades. And for the Oilers, that price, no matter if you're saying it was just right or too much or too little, that price was never going to get paid from the Edmonton Oilers simply because we couldn't physically pay that price given what other needs we have and given what other stuff that we just don't have to give up that deal entailed. So friends, I'm Tyson, this is Stolany TV. Thank you so much for being aboard. I'm up on Oda here. We'll catch you a little later on. I want to discuss Adam Henrique if I have time when I get home tonight. So we'll discuss that later. We'll catch you in the next one.